Villains are rarely born evil. Most are created. In this video, we're breaking down the 10 psychological origins behind almost every great villain in fiction. Some villains wanted power, others wanted love, but almost all of them believed the world failed them first. The Orphaned Child. Some of the most recognizable villains in fiction lost their parents early. That absence shapes everything. The sense of safety, the feeling of belonging, the belief that the world is fair. When a child grows up without that foundation, the gap left behind can fill with anger, obsession, or a desperate need for control. Bruce Wayne found heroism in that same wound. Others find something darker. The orphaned villain often does not want to destroy the world. They want to remake it into one where what happened to them never happens again, on their terms. The betrayed hero. Not every villain started as one. Many began as someone who genuinely tried to do good. They fought for the right side, believed in the cause, and gave everything they had. Then the people they trusted turned on them, exposed them, used them, or simply threw them away when they were no longer useful. That betrayal does not just hurt, it reframes everything. Every sacrifice starts to feel like manipulation. Every ideal starts to feel like a lie. The betrayed hero does not become evil overnight. They become someone who has simply stopped believing that good is worth protecting. The Outcast. Rejection is quiet but consistent. The outcast villain was never welcomed, not in school, not in their community, not in the places they wanted to belong. Over time, that rejection stops feeling like bad luck and starts feeling like a verdict. The world has decided what they are, so they decide to accept it. Many outcast villains are driven less by a desire for destruction and more by a desire to finally be seen. The cruelty they eventually show the world is often just the cruelty the world showed them first, returned with interest. The person who lost everything. Grief can go two ways. It can humble a person or hollow them out completely. This kind of villain had something real, a family, a home, a future, and watched it disappear, usually through no fault of their own. Disease, war, accident, or someone else's greed took what mattered most. What remains is not really a person seeking revenge. It is a person seeking meaning in a world that now feels entirely pointless. The destruction they cause is often less about gaining something and more about making the pain feel proportional. The True Believer. This villain is perhaps the most dangerous because they are not confused about who they are. They have a vision, a better world, a pure system, a corrected history, and they are completely committed to it. The path toward that vision may involve terrible things, but to them, the destination justifies every step. They do not see themselves as villains at all. They see themselves as the only ones willing to make hard choices. History is full of real people who followed this exact arc, which is what makes this origin feel less like fiction and more like a warning. The one who was never loved. This origin is quieter than most, but runs the deepest. Some villains did not experience a single dramatic loss. They simply grew up in an environment without warmth. Parents who were absent, indifferent, or cruel, a childhood with no one who made them feel like they mattered. Without love as a reference point, empathy becomes difficult to develop. Other people start to feel like obstacles or tools rather than full human beings. The villain who was never loved often cannot understand why their actions hurt others because no one ever made them understand what it felt like to be hurt. The Corrupted Idealist. They started with real principles, equality, justice, freedom, things that are genuinely worth fighting for, but somewhere along the way, the fight became more important than the cause. Small compromises were made, then larger ones. Each step felt necessary at the time. By the end, the methods they once stood against became the methods they rely on. The Corrupted Idealist is tragic precisely because their original goal was not wrong. What changed was not what they wanted, but what they were willing to do to get it. The one who was given too much power. Some people do not become villains because of suffering. They become villains because no one ever told them no. Wealth, status, authority, or influence arrived early and without condition. The world bent around them so consistently that they stopped seeing other people as equals and started seeing them as inconveniences. This origin is less dramatic than the others, but arguably more common in the real world. The damage done by this kind of villain is often systemic, slow, institutional, and far harder to undo than anything a single act of cruelty could cause. The victim who became the predator. Abuse cycles are real, and this origin acknowledges that without excusing it. The villain who was once a victim knows exactly what it feels like to be powerless. That experience should have created compassion. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it creates a person who decides that they will never be in that position again, no matter what it takes. They do not hurt others because they enjoy it. They hurt others because control feels like the only form of safety they have ever known. Understanding this origin does not make their actions acceptable. It makes them understandable, which is sometimes harder to sit with. The genius who was ignored. Ability without recognition is its own kind of punishment. This villain had real talent, scientific, artistic, strategic, and was dismissed, underfunded, overlooked, or outright stolen from. The bitterness that follows is specific. It is not just anger at the people who ignored them. It is anger at a world that rewards mediocrity while genuine brilliance goes unnoticed. When that bitterness curdles into action, it often takes the form of a desire to prove something, to make the world acknowledge what it chose not to see, even if the proof comes at a tremendous cost.